Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Got a new video for you guys. As you guys can see from the thumbnail and the title, today we're going to be talking about Yubel. So when Yubel first came out, way back in Phantom Nightmare, I believe it was, I was a big fan of it. I thought it was a really cool gimmick, and while it wasn't really a defensive playstyle and depended a lot on your opponent, it had such a cool aesthetic, and there were so many good dark monsters at the time. But now, with the new support that was recently announced a few weeks ago, the deck is kind of crazy and kind of fun. We're gonna run through the deck real quick, and I'm gonna tell you guys why I went with this build. It definitely needs some refining. It's definitely not perfect. It's just so I can show off the support. But if you guys don't want to talk about the cards, you guys can skip ahead to the actual gameplay. I'll have the timestamps down below, so you guys can just jump ahead to that. But enough from me. Let's talk about the deck. So first off, we gotta talk about Yubel. We're gonna go, even though it's the third card, and we're gonna talk about Yubel first. So Yubel was always a very mid card, but this deck it actually becomes really important. So for anybody that doesn't know what Yubel does, it is a much older card. This card cannot be destroyed by battle. You take no battle damage from battles involving this card. Before damage calculation, when this card is attacked, and it was face up in attack position when it was selected as an attack target. Inflict damage to your opponent equal to the attacking monster's attack. During your end phase, tribute one other monster or destroy this card. If this card is destroyed, except by its own effect, its owner can special summon one Yubel Terror Incarnate from their hand, deck, or graveyard. So, basically, can't be destroyed by battle. Your opponent swings in. If your opponent swings into it, they take the damage. The couple problems this card had. Well, first off, it can't attack. So you're basically just sitting there waiting for your opponent, and you have to tribute a monster every turn. So that became a little annoying. But if this card gets destroyed by any card effect, you get to turn it into Yubel Terror Incarnate. So this deck, we might end up running 3 Yubels because of the way that all the stuff works with it. 2 did okay in testing. I still played one of the other forms just because they're nice to have in case your Yubel does end up getting destroyed or removed from the field, but absolutely not necessary. But Yubel Terror Incarnate, what it actually does, can't be normal summoner set, can only be special summoned by Yubel, and cannot be summoned in other ways. This card cannot be destroyed by battle. You take no battle damage involving this card. Before damage calculation, when this face-up attack position card is attacked by an opponent's monster, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the monster attack. For the rest of the video, I'm going to refer to that as the Yubel effect. Okay. During the end phase, destroy all other monsters on the field. When this face-up card leaves the field, you can special summon one Yubel, the ultimate nightmare, from your hand, deck, or graveyard. So, a couple things about this one. This one was considered the best one. It's a board wipe every turn. It has the same protection as Yubel, and if it leaves the field, not destroyed, if it just leaves the field, you get ultimate nightmare. Now, a couple things that make this better than Yubel, obviously the board nuke, and the fact that if it leaves the field for any reason, you get ultimate nightmare. One of the things that makes Yubel better is that Yubel's effect is when it's destroyed, doesn't matter where from, you get Terror Incarnate. Terror Incarnate's effect only goes off if it goes from field to anywhere else. Ultimate Nightmare, this was the best one, quote unquote, because it was the only offensive one. So it has the standard Yubel effect where it can't be destroyed by battle damage, all that. But its effect is that if it battled, your opponent takes the damage and then destroy the monster. So not just when it's attacked, but even when it attacks. So that's the 3 Yubels. Now we're going to jump into the new support. So first off, we got Spirit of Yubel, level 10, 0 attack, 0 defense. Could not be destroyed by battle. Also, you take no battle damage from battles involving this card. If this card is destroyed, you can special summon one of your Yubel that is banished or in your hand, deck, or graveyard. That's huge. You can only use each of the following effects of Spirit of Yubel once per turn. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is special summoned, you could take one spell or trap from your deck that mentions Yubel and either add it to your hand or set it to your field. A couple things about this card. Like I said, doesn't have necessarily the exact same protection that normal Yubel has, where it can't deal out damage. So this card isn't going to kill anybody, but it can't be destroyed by battle, and if it does get destroyed, you get Yubel. So that's cool. When it's special summoned, you get to search all your spells and trap cards because they all mention Yubel, or you can set it. The only downside to that card is because of the way it's worded, it can be ashed, even though one of the options is to set a card, because it's one effect, the whole thing can be Ash Blossom, which kind of sucks. Also, it has its own effect to special summon itself. Your opponent declares an attack, so your opponent declares an attack, you get a wall. If they kill the wall, you get a Yubel, and now they have to deal with that. Geist Grinder Golem, this is probably the worst of the support cards, in my opinion, but I think it still has a home, at least as a one-of. So, you can only special summon Geist Grinder Golem once per turn. You can reveal one Yubel monster from your hand, special summon this card from your hand to your opponent's field. Then you can special summon the revealed monster to your field. Once per turn, if this card battles a Yubel monster during the damage calculation, your opponent gains 3,000 life points. If you special summon a Yubel while this card is in your graveyard, except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your opponent to your opponent's field. So, the whole point of this card is this card facilitates OTK. It's a big way to get a shitload of damage out and to actually gain life points back. It only really works with Yubel or Spirit of Yubel, because you would reveal it, summon him to your opponent's side of the field, and then some of the other monsters directly from hand. I don't like the fact that it requires another card to actually do anything, but because of the way it works with cards like Nightmare Pain, it has some interesting interactions, but it can actually straight steal you a game. But the only reason I think it's the worst card is because I feel like you can do the same thing with a Kaiju, while also removing one of your opponent's monsters. The only good thing about this is you can use it even if your opponent doesn't have a monster. So, it's meh. Ash Blossom, Samsara Lotus. Oh, Samsara Regenerating Lotus. So this is the new version of Samsara Lotus. Samsara Lotus actually got banned because it was so good. You contribute this card, special summon one Yubel monster from your deck during your opponent's turn. When a monster effect is activated while you control a Yubel monster quick effect, you contribute this card. The effect becomes destroy one Yubel monster on the field. During your end phase, if you control Yubel, this card is in your graveyard. You can either add it to your hand or special summon it. You can only use each effect of Samsara Regenerating Lotus once per turn. This card is bonkers. This is the best card in the deck. Absolutely. It's a one-card starter. So, first effect, you contribute this card, special summon one Yubel monster from your deck. You can either grab Yubel or you can grab Spirit or Yubel. Already nasty. The only downside can be Ash, but that's neither here nor there. During your opponent's turn, when a monster effect is activated while you control a Yubel monster, quick effect, you can distribute this card. That effect becomes destroy one Yubel monster on the field. It's a pseudo monster negate. It plays into the whole Yubel theme because they're going to kill one of your Yubels. Now you're going to get the next form. And you literally have 4 different monsters you can summon out. And then that last effect, during the end phase, if you control Yubel and this card is in your graveyard, you can either add it to your hand or special summon it. That effect specifically is only for OG Yubel. The reason that is because on the end phase you have to tribute a monster to keep Yubel on the board. Well, you could special summon Samsara Regenerating Lotus first and then use Yubel to pay the cost. So it's really, really nice. Real quick, I want to talk about Allure of Darkness. Obviously it's not a support card, but it goes really, really good in this deck. A, all the monsters are dark. B, Spirit of Yubel can get Yubel back from the banished. And C is Mature Chronicle, but we'll talk about that when we get it. It just goes really, really good in the deck. It's a really, really strong consistency piece, and it helps you get into all your stuff. And banishing your cards really doesn't bother you when you have so many ways of getting it back. We're playing Part of Prosperity, Called by the Grave, Forbidden Droplet's also really, really nice in this deck because of the fact that we have so many continuous spells and traps. You always have a bunch of extra cards on the board you don't mind mixing for Forbidden Droplet. Super Poly. We gotta talk about Super Poly. This deck abuses Super Poly. Abuses. If you guys look at the way we have the extra deck right now, almost every single card is a Super Poly target. New Yubel, which we'll get to at the end, is a Super Poly target. We're also playing like every other Super Poly target at all. Hell, Garura. Garura is disgusting in this deck, and we'll talk about that right now because we're talking about Nightmare Pain next. This is the second best card out of the new support. During your main phase, you can destroy one dark monster in your hand or face up on the field. If you do, add one Yubel or one card that mentions Yubel except for Nightmare Pain from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect of Nightmare Pain once per turn while you control Yubel monster. All your opponent's monsters that can attack must attack a Yubel monster. Your opponent takes any battle damage you would have taken from battles involving your Yubel monster. So here's why this card's nuts. First off, destroy one dark monster. The entire deck's dark. It could be a monster you have in your hand, so if you're stuck with a Grinder Golem in hand, you can just destroy it. If you have Spirit of Yubel in your hand, you can destroy it. Cool thing is, if you destroy Yubel or Spirit of Yubel, you get their effect. So you destroy Spirit of Yubel, you get Yubel from the deck, along with the search. You destroy Yubel, you get a search, then you get Terror Incarnate. The reason I said Garua is nuts in this deck is because you can actually use Nightmare Pain, destroy Garua, get a search, and then get a draw too. After after superpowering your opponent's field. Like nuts. Second effect. If your opponent has any attack position monsters, they have to swing into a Yubel monster. They have to. They don't have a choice. So that's a good way to get a shitload of damage out. It actually makes Yubel's defensive skill actually good. Or at least usable. Though I would like somebody to help me out with a ruling. So it happens on both Nexus and YGO Omega. Whereas if I have multiple Yubel monsters, I got to pick which one my opponent attacked. Now that's not a super big deal, but they had used an imperm to negate one of the Yubels. And when he declared the attack, I was able to summon Spirit of Yubel from my hand. And then when he had to redeclare the attack, I got to pick where his attack went, because Nightmare Pain was forcing him to attack anyway. I made him attack Spirit of Yubel. Now while Spirit of Yubel doesn't have the same effect as Yubel, Nightmare Pain basically gives it to Spirit of Yubel. Because now whatever battle damage I would have taken, they take. Also, big deal. If you use that third effect where your opponent takes any battle damage, it also applies if you're attacking into monsters, so it allows you to be offensive if you want to. Also, if for whatever reason your opponent swings into you, they would take double the damage. Because they would take damage from like a Yubel effect. Like say they swing into Yubel with a 1500 monster. They're going to take 1500 damage because of Yubel's effect, and then another 1500 damage because of Nightmare Pain. That's why Nightmare Pain plus Grinder Golem can easily make an OTK with the new fusion. Again, we'll get into that in a second. Mature Chronicle. This is the second worst card out of the support, but it also has some pretty cool uses, so I think it actually might be played. So every time a Yubel monster or a monster that mentions Yubel is special summoned, place one Chronicle counter on this card. You can remove up to 5 Chronicle counters to activate one of the following effects, but you can only use one of the effects per turn. So for 1 counter, you can special summon Yubel from the graveyard. Already okay. For 2, you can add one of your banished cards from your hand that is not specific, and you can add face down banished. So if you Pot of Prosperity something that you end up needing, you can actually use this to get it back. That's also why we don't care about banishing cards, because you can always get the cards back. For 3 counters, you can banish any card in your deck. Basically, you would be banishing it to get it back later. 4, destroy 1 card on the field. Non-target, destroy. You'll actually see in the gameplay where I use that, and my opponent had to respond to it, because otherwise they just have to let it happen. And then for 5, you can add a Super Poly from your deck to your hand. It searches Super Poly. What can I say? One of the best board breakers in the game. And the last support card for the main deck we have is Eternal Favorite. Once per turn, you can activate one of these effects, but you can only use each effect of Eternal Favorite once per turn. So if you have 2 copies, you can use both effects. Special summon one of your Yubel monsters that is banished or in your graveyard. Neither player can activate cards or effects when that monster is special summoned. So this is another way to get your Yubels back from the banished, and your opponent can't do something like on the resolution of the card coming out. The card has to come out. If you control Yubel, discard 1 card, send this face-up card from your spell and trap zone to the graveyard. Fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from either field as a material, including a Yubel monster. Basically, we have 6 Super Polys. And this one's searchable. Really, really easy. You basically can use this to make almost anything, because Yubel is a dark monster, so obviously we have our Yubel Fusion. We have this one whose name I can never pronounce. Trifo, whatever. Starving Venom. Dragostapalia. Technically, if there's another fiend monster on the board, we can make Garura. It's just, and then of course another dark monster we can make Mud Dragon. It's just really, really easy to abuse these cards. Now for the extra deck, we have Yubel das ewige Weicher. I don't speak German. It takes 1 Yubel monster and any number of effect monsters on the field. So basically you can fuse it with your opponent's entire board if you really want to. If this card is fusion summoned, you can inflict 500 damage to your opponent for each material used for its summon. That effect is hilarious. Because if you fuse 5 monsters, that's 2,500. So easy to use. You can only use this effect of Yubel once per turn. Cannot be destroyed by battle or card effect. Also, you take no battle damage from battles involving this card. At the end of the damage step of this card, battle an opponent's monster. Inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's attack, and if you do, banish that monster. So, it's offensive because you can swing with it and still deal with the damage. It banishes the monster, non-target removal. Yeah, that's it. And if you combine it with Nightmare Pain, you can make them take double damage. So if you have this and a Grinder Golem, that's 6,000 damage right there, plus whatever you burn them with when you made the fusion. So, solid card. Then, like I said, all the super poly targets in the world. Rail Cannon, because Yubel and Spirit of Yubel are level 10, so it's an easy way to just burn for 2k or try to steal a game with Juggernaut. Same thing with this guy. Believe it or not, I was having a really easy time getting out Yubel and Spirit of Yubel, which are level 10s. So being able to go into this guy and just make it so my opponent loses damage every time they summon, I threw it in here because it might steal a game. Since we can give our opponent monsters, relinquish anima. The only thing I would say, Kaiju would probably be good for this. But enough with the talking. We're finally done talking about the cards. We're going to go jump into some gameplay. Alright, so this first game, I will warn you, is the longer one. We went first, and we ended up playing against Rescue Ace. So this one was pretty intense. The hand we got is decent, but an Ash Blossom could have really hurt. So check it out. So starting off with Samsara Lotus and Nightmare Pain is nuts, and then being able to use Mature Chronicle on the start actually makes this card usable. So Mature Chronicle gets activated. We activate Nightmare Pain as well. There's our setup. Start with Samsara Regenerating Lotus, activates effects, tribute it. We get Spirit of Yubel from the deck, which puts a counter on Chronicle. Now we actually get to search, so we're going to search our trap card since we already have the other 2 cards. Bam. Now we're going to use Nightmare Pain. Nightmare Pain destroys the Spirit of Yubel to get us a search. This one I was a little iffy on what I should have searched. I ended up going with another Spirit of Yubel because we have our entire setup. And now, because we destroyed Spirit of Yubel, we get Yubel from the deck. So now we have a battle hand trap in hand, plus, the other 3 cards that we have that we can set. So now looking at my hand, I decided to set 3. And yeah, that's actually a pretty solid board. And now, like I said, on the end phase, we get to activate Samsara Regenerating Lotus because we control Yubel, summon it from the deck, which gives us another counter on Mature Chronicle, and then Yubel tributes it off to keep Yubel on the board. So yeah, solid. So right now our opponent is forced to attack us, and if they attack us, they're taking double the damage. Alright, as soon as we saw this, I was like, okay, we're playing against Rescue Ace. I tried to decide if I should try and negate this. I did, but I forget that Rescue Ace monsters have quick effects that basically remove them from the field. And then, I'm sorry, he had an enemy controller. Wrong card. So he tributes off his monster to be able to get the effect, and he steals my Yubel, which I was okay with. I didn't realize, this is important, Eternal Favorite only works if you control the Yubel monster. So I'm thinking, I'm fine, I can super poly his stuff, but you can't. I have to do it while I control the Yubel monster. But he gets a search, he activates alert, we decide we don't do anything about it. There's the emergency, there's get the special summon. Again, just don't activate anything. We're chilling. It's Hydrant. Send the card to grave. Hydrant's effect to get a search. Again, while I do have Droplets face down, I didn't want him to have Turbulence and be able to, set 4, so I just waited. I was biding my time. Trying to make sure I hit the right card. There's a Turbulence. Now he uses the Turbulence. Banishes 2. We're chilling. Turbulence comes out. Again, we're chilling. Big chilling. We activate Eternal Favor. I was going to Contact Fuse, not realizing that I couldn't. That was the problem I had here. So instead, we used the effect to summon a Yubel monster from the grave. So we bring back our Spirit of Yubel, which puts another counter on the counter. I'm kind of butthurt. I'm like, damn, I couldn't Contact Fuse. Super Poly. So he goes to use Turbulence. We finally activate Droplet. We just send the Eternal since we can't use it. Bam, negate that effect. Now we're sitting pretty with Chronicle having 4 counters on it. We have a Spirit of Yubel on the board, Spirit of Yubel in hand, and we have our Nightmare Pain. So he basically has to try and find a way to slow us down. He ends up linking away our Yubel, which sucks if we didn't get it back. Activates the field spell. Sends all these cards back to the deck to draw one. Rhoda. Now, SP Little Knight could be a little bit of a problem, but we have ways to get, back our banished stuff. So right there, he was negating our effect. And this is what I was talking about when I was talking about the program. So he negated our Spirit of Yubel, but when he declared an attack, we were able to summon another one from the hand. He tried to negate our effect because he was forced to attack anyway because of Nightmare Pain. But now we summon our second Spirit of Yubel, and now he's forced to attack. And we have 5 counters on Chronicle, so we can actually search Super Poly on our turn. But now he's forced to swing, and it let me pick where he was swinging. But now he gets rid of this monster to get another one from the deck. Which I'm not sure why he did that, but it is what it is. We got our search. Now we have the trap card back. So we have our Super Poly. So now he's swinging, and this is where I said it lets me pick where he swings. So I just made him swing into the one that can't be destroyed. Why he didn't SP Little Knight it, I don't know. Like, sure, I would have got it back, but he would have saved himself a lot of damage. Because now he's swinging with SP Little Knight, same target. And he put his monster in the monster he summoned from deck, he put in attack mode. So he's forced to swing with that too. He could have put that in defense mode. But now he just goes straight to end phase. Now it's our turn. And we have a lot of plays. Try to see if any of my XYZs were a good idea. He's got 28. If he only had 2k, I probably still wouldn't have done it just because of SP Little Knight. So he's like, we gotta deal with the SP Little Knight. So we start out by activating Mature Chronicle since we have 5 counters on it. We end up destroying one card. Though searching the Super Poly could have been good too, because we could have fused with all his monsters, and he wouldn't be able to respond to the Super Poly. But instead, we went for the non-target destruction, which in turn he activates SP Little Knight. So he's gonna banish this monster. Now I'm trying to think, what can I do to kill him now? I'm thinking, what can I do? Can I do 2,800 damage to him? And yes, I can. So we destroy his card, and now we're going to activate Nightmare Pain. Get rid of one of our spirits. We're going to grab Grinder. Now, this is why I don't like Grinder, because I have Grinder in hand and I can't use it. because Grinder requires you to have a Yubel monster in hand to summon it. So he's basically just a dead card in my hand, and I hate dead cards. Y'all know that. If we put Kaijus in the deck, sure, we can't search it, but at least it'll never be as dead as Grinder is right now. But then we got to summon Yubel because of Spirit of Yubel's effect. But I'm going to tell you guys right now, the duel gets cut off here. We got disconnected, but I kept the whole duel in because it was cool. So like right here, we just dealt 600 damage by swinging in. Actually, would have dealt 900 because you... No, it's only on attack. So we just dealt 600 damage here. So that would have put our opponent down to 22. And we could have actually used Eternal to summon another Yubel from the grave to swing again to deal another 300 damage, which would have put him down to 19. And then on his turn, we could have used Eternal to make the Yubel fusion, which would have burned it for 2000. So we ended up having that game no matter what. I was kind of butthurt that I got disconnected like that, but I knew we had the game. We would have just done it on his draw phase. Alright, on to the second game. So in this game, we won the rock, paper, scissors, but we chose to go second because I wanted to see how the deck would do going second. And we opened up a pretty trash hand. We've got the two forms that we'd never want to see. That's why they're one-ofs. But fortunately, our opponent did not have the greatest of hands. So we start off with a Lure of Darkness. I end up getting rid of Ultimate Nightmare just because it's too hard to summon. We start off, of course, with our Samsara Regenerating Lotus. But this is what I was talking about, where Samsara is a one-card starter, because now we can tribute to Samsara, get Spirit. Spirit gets us a search. And so Spirit gets us a search for a spell and trap card. Now, if we didn't have anything at all, just off of that, we summon the Yubel. The Spirit of Yubel searches Nightmare Pain. We activate the Nightmare Pain, tribute off the Spirit of Yubel to get another search, as well as a Yubel special summoned out. That's just at a bare minimum with no other cards in hand. But we already have Nightmare Pain in hand, so now we can get a different search with Spirit of Yubel. Except our opponent hits us with Crackdown, which means I'm assuming he thought it was going to stop the effect. So the way Crackdown works is that you get control of the monster, and the monster cannot activate its effect. But since the effect was already activated, the effect still resolves normally. So I'm like, shit, that sucks. He stole my monster. What can I do? So I'm looking, and we decide to go with Eternal Favorite because that card's really, really good. We activate the Nightmare Pain. We activate the Nightmare Pain, getting rid of the Terra Incarnate in our hand, so there go all the dead cards out of our hand. Now we get another search. I decide to search, if I recall, it was Spirit of Yubel, because of everything else we have in hand. This way, if he decides to be able to go on the offensive, we can summon out Spirit of Yubel, because now we just set 4. And now, while Eternal Favorite is dead, Super Poly is not. And then if we Super Poly away our Spirit of Yubel, we can actually bring it back with Eternal Favorite. I actually wanted our opponent to go on the offensive here because I wanted to try and play through their plays, but they ended up just setting 2, which kind of pissed me off a little bit, but it is what it is. We top deck Pride of Prosperity, and I'm just like, shit, what do? I'm like, is there anything I want to activate? We go with Nightmare Pain, getting rid of the Spirit of Yubel in our hand, destroying the Spirit of Yubel in our hand. You know that matters. So we get another search. And I'm like, what do I search? I grab the Grinder Golem. I don't know why I grabbed the Grinder Golem. It just ends up being discard fodder. But then Spirit of Yubel goes off, summoning a Yubel from the deck. And we're like, yay, Yubel's out. But now he tries to crack down this Yubel, and I'm like, nah, I'm not about that life. This, I feel, yeah, this was the best play. It's better to keep the Super Poly for my opponent's plays. So I end up using Eternal Favorite, discarding the Grinder Golem, and I fuse together my Yubel with my Spirit of Yubel that he has control of. I thought about making the Yubel fusion, but there's really no point. I would have burned him for 1,000 and just had a wall. So instead, I actually go Garura, not realizing that Garura is actually good here. So I went into Garura. I was like, it's fine. If he destroys the Garura, I get to draw a card. But Garura is also a dark monster. I use the pot, banish the 6. So the 6 I'm getting rid of is because I didn't know what he was playing at the time. But I hadn't seen him play any monsters, so I'm like, oh, he's probably just playing a back row heavy deck. So I was kind of wrong, but it is what it is. I did what I had to do. Now, with the 6 cards we got, what would you guys have picked? Let me know here. With the way our board is set up, with those cards, what would you have picked? Did you put it in the comments? Okay, I'm going to tell you guys what I picked. So, we didn't go with Lure of Darkness. We have no monsters in hand. We didn't want to blind a Lure and risk just discarding whatever cards we draw. We didn't go with Nightmare Pain because we already have Nightmare Pain on the board. We didn't go with Mature Chronicle because Mature Chronicle only works if we can start special summoning, which we can't do right now. And there's 2 of them in that top 6. So it's between Imperm and Ash Blossom. Imperm is good, but Ash Blossom hits more targets, so we ended up going with the Ash Blossom. I would have liked something I could combo out with, but it is what it is. So we have an Ash Blossom in hand. We still have Super Poly. We have a monster that can potentially draw us a card. And we still have Forbidden Droplet and Call by the Grave face down. So we attack. I thought this was going to do double damage because, you know, your opponent takes double battle damage, but I guess that doesn't count toward direct damage. I don't know. That was weird. By the way, I didn't mention earlier, we did this on Dueling Nexus because for whatever reason, Omega won't let us use the TCG ban list with OCG cards. Kind of sucks because it forces me to play one way, even though I want to try this as if, you know, the stuff was here. Sorry, we hit our opponent with a Forbidden Droplet when they summon Sage, and they just passed turn. So at this point, I knew I had it, especially once I did this. So I used Nightmare. I was surprised that Nightmare Pain let me activate it, but Nightmare Pain lets you destroy a dark monster. It doesn't care what the dark monster is. So we end up destroying our Garura to get Samsara Regenerating Lotus, which also gets us a draw off Garura. So I'm like, that was dope. And now Samsara Regenerating Lotus gets us into our plays. Bring out another Spirit. And our opponent quits. We had 2 Super Polys. We got the trap card. Like, our opponent just was not going to be able to play the game. So I was okay with them just up and leaving. Alright guys, here's one last look at the deck. Like I said, this was just a first draft. Definitely want to make some changes. Also, we didn't do a match. I wanted to, but we never made a side deck. And I recorded this at like 3 in the morning. It was too much brain power. But the deck's really, really fun, and I'm interested to see what you guys can come up with it. If you guys can find a way to make Mature Chronicle more consistent or Grinder Golem more consistent, that'd be really cool. But just being able to abuse Super Poly and Eternal Favorite the way it does, Samsara being a 1-card starter, like I like that. I like that Spirit of Yubel as a hand trap, and Nightmare Pain is just insane. Actually, now that I think about it, this might be the best card in the deck, with Samsara being a close second. Anyway, let me know what you guys think of the deck. Let me know what you guys are testing with it. I'm definitely open to ideas. I definitely want to pick this deck up when it comes out. I'm excited. If you guys want to check me out on social media, those links will be down below. That's it from me, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.